Pundit is the football trivia game, ideal for the football head in your life. Every sale of Pundit using the code LIONS at checkout earns you a 10% discount plus a donation for the Lions Food Hub. Visit punditgames.co.uk to order your copy or visit @punditgames on Twitter.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to Achtung Millwall. Special occasion for me. It's a Listed Lion show, and welcoming on the guest the singer of that fantastic clip that we started the show with. It's the lead singer of Maze. It's Mr. Gary Davis. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, much. Yeah, nice one, mate. Thank you.
Mate, you've got a fantastic voice. Let's say that from the very start. When did you find out, Gary, that you had a fantastic voice, mate? I mean, how did you discover this talent? Have you always known?
I mean, I'm in my early 40s, mate. I didn't even really know or realise till about 10 years ago. Yeah, till about 10 years ago when someone heard me sing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it really was, mate. Years ago, like, your ex-girlfriends or your mum can hear you singing now. But when it comes to people like that, you don't take no notice, you know what I mean? But,
you kind of hope they're biased, Gary, don't you?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. All that, yeah.
So 10 years ago, so you've been singing kind of publicly singing since about, what, the age of 30 or something? How long have you been at it?
Basically, I got made redundant, and one day I bumped into Paul, who I used to work with years ago in Sydney.
Right.
And Paul's obviously in the band now. He's the main songwriter. And I've caught up with him for a bit of time, and he always liked to have a little jam. And he said, him and his mate are meeting up.
Right.
I say this is about 10 years ago, and he said, "Do you want to come round?" So I was like, "Well, nothing else to do." I went round there, and the two was having a jam. And he just said, "Oh, get the microphone, and let's do something." So I think we've done like a Stone Roses song, and he literally stopped halfway through it and went, "Why didn't you tell me you could sing? I've known you for like 15 years." I mean, I didn't know. And I said, I didn't know. Yeah, I literally just said, I didn't know I could sing myself. And then we actually had a band for about 4 years.
Right.
That was kind of the theme. And then I quit music about 6-7 years ago just to concentrate on my career.
Yeah.
And then this Maze thing literally just happened by accident about during lockdown. So really, it's only about a year and a half, 2 years now. I mean, that's a short story out of, for the last 10 years, basically.
A very long story, I imagine. Yeah. I mean, the name of that track we've just played in with listeners is "We've Seen It All." That's your new single you got coming out, Go, isn't it?
That came out a week and a half ago. Yeah.
Oh, it's out at the moment.
That single's out now. That single came out 2 weeks ago. The EP, which that song will be on it,
right,
that comes out February
the 17th. I've got the
February the 17th. That's it.
Name of the band is Maze, and the new EP is called Letters from London, and it'll be out 17th of Feb. What I'm going to do, listeners, I'm going to stick the contact details for Gary and the band on the show notes for this, so you can get hold of this. I really recommend them. I mean, I don't say all this stuff lightly, Gal, because it's always nice to be pleasant to your guests, but you don't have to go too far sometimes, But this is really good. This is a really, really strong sound. I take my hat off to you. And you're playing the Hope and Anchor, I see, as well. That's a sold-out gig. Yeah,
so actually sold out. It's our first gig in London for a long time. We do find it hard to get gigs in London, so we've been most of our gigs have been around the country. And so to come back to London and to come to London and do a sellout gig, and that's why we made it the EP launch night, because it just makes sense to have a first sold-out gig.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes so much sense.
You're hoping to do more shows afterwards on taking it, because it seems like it's a bit of a hit,
Yeah, we got Worthing. The first one this year is on actually this Saturday down in Worthing, and then we're at the Cambridge Junction next Friday, and then obviously we've got the London one. So
fantastic.
And then we obviously got the Brighton. We've got the Mod Weekend in August. We've been booked in for that on the Friday night. That's a 900 people venue, that is. So that's going to be a massive one. So and I think we might be doing the HMV in Canterbury in Kent a week after the Open gig. So we got things lined up. Hopefully, a lot of it depends on how how well
How much
he does
support.
the song stuff. And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wish you every success, mate. I'll try and get along to one myself because I've been really struck. I mean, I'll make no apology, listeners, for repeating on Twitter the band's social media page because, as I said, I'm become a bit of an instant fan, Gary. So,
and the thing is, the bands like us, we're so grateful for people like yourself and podcasts and radio, like the big radio stations, the small radio stations. You don't realise how much you're up us as well. You know what I mean? So
well, I really hope so. I mean, I picked out 3 tracks we'll be fading snippets. I've got to be a bit careful with copyright, listeners, but I'll be fading in 3 tracks from Maze's repertoire. They're a great album. I've been listening to some of it today called Chaos Interrupted. Gary, I really take my album. I really love the track called In My Mind that's on that album. I think that's a fantastic sound.
Making changes in your life, but I can see the cracks standing out in the cold again, and the smile that turns blue. You can run, but you can hide in the wild.
That was our very first single we ever brought out as a band. Before we had a bass player, actually, the thing about that song was that song came out because it was right in lockdown. That song actually came out before we all got together. So we all done our bits in our.
You recorded separately? Wow.
Yeah. So the song actually came out before we had a bass player properly, and before we even got together for a proper rehearsal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a quick listen today ahead of our conversation, and listeners, and I've pulled out. We've seen it all because it's a new single, obviously, and I think that's a really strong sound. In My Mind, and there's another one called Coming For You, which I think is on the Chaos Interrupted album as well, Gary, which I thought was also a strong number. So I've just picked out 3. We'll have little snippets through the course of our conversation because the reason that you and I are speaking is that I saw your video. We just said off air. I'll repeat it for the listeners. I saw your video, one of Gary's kind of jam sessions online. I thought that looks like that bloke I've seen down Millwall. Of course, lo and behold, it is that bloke that I've seen down Millwall. I thought that's why we'd make some contact here. How many years have you been a Millwall fan, Gary? How long have you supported the Lions, mate?
I've been all my life.
All your life, like many of us.
My dad was a Millwall fan, and his dad wasn't exactly a Millwall fan, but he worked at the council depot dead opposite Carbo Lane.
Over the road there.
So
right, okay,
so basically, he was one of them that wasn't really a Millwall fan, but he said
it's just nearby.
yeah. Basically, the old-fashioned stories of my dad said that when he was about 10, he'd go work with his dad, but his dad knew people on the turnstile, and Dad got lifted over, and so when he was young, and that's how my dad came up with a fan. You know what I mean? So,
Well, these were real stories of the past, Gary, weren't they? I mean, this is how many of us. I mean, I didn't never get carried in. No one ever did that for me. But you go from a young age. You turns it into a lifetime's bond, really. Similar story for many of us at different ages and different times. I'm just thinking as I'm talking to you. One of normally listeners when we do these conversations, I've got name. We've done name already. Occupation. I think I've got to put you down as rock star, Gary, haven't I? I've never had a rock star on the show, and you're my first. So I'm going to put you down. Name and occupation, Gary Davis, rock star. How does that sound?
We keep it that. Yeah, we can all. I can dream. You know what I mean? So we keep it that.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, the story that you've described of finding music is quite an incredible one. I mean, I suppose many of us never really get to. I don't think my voice will be up to it. So I think I kind of know that I wouldn't be any good. But I suppose you never really get the chance to find out. I mean, how do you find live performance, mate? I mean, is it something that you've taken to? Had you done anything like that before, or is it?
No, never. I never even. I mean, when I say I didn't know how to sing, I never even done karaoke. Unless you absolutely, absolutely smash out your head with your mates, that kind of thing. And, I mean, that 20-year-old in one mic, You know what I mean? So I never even done anything like that. So it really was by accident. It really, really was by accident. So
that's fantastic. So it's actually quite an inspirational story for a lot of people out there, I hope. Because
it just goes to show, no, just try.
Try, you don't know.
Don't be afraid to try anything. Yeah, try anything. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely. Where about? I think I know the answer to this one because I've seen you. But whereabouts you sit at the Den, Gary? Where's your spot?
I sit in the West Lower, block 27, 28, right by the by the corner flag, actually. Just right, by the away fans on the corner flag there.
That's why you're a familiar face, because I go upstairs and you're obviously downstairs.
It's actually quite down there where I sit down there. There's another musician down there. He's quite well known.
Is there?
I don't know much about it, but it's the old oil music.
Oh right,
Last Resort. His name is Roy. I think he was actually in the business and Last Resort, so he's
right.
quite well known. So there's like two of us down there, and the last game last season, a couple of people walked past and had one of the photos done to both of us. That kind of thing.
He's known in the scene.
Quite surreal. Yeah.
Wow.
So
the thing I liked about your sound, keep praising my guest here, listeners, but I like there's a melody. There's a more melodic approach, which I don't think I always get from some of that. It's more energy driven, isn't it, rather than melody driven, if that makes sense. So I think that's to my taste, but obviously each to their own on that front. But that's amazing. It's like a musician's corner down there. Who's your favourite all-time player, Gary? Who would you choose as your choice of all-time? How long have you been going for? I mean,
my first game was, obviously I don't really remember it, but my very first game, because I've got the programme on my wall, was 1983. I think we played Newport County.
Right.
And,
okay.
I think it was a season that we beat Chesterfield to stay up.
Yeah. Miracle escape, isn't it? Yeah, that's right.
Miracle escape. I think the game was literally a week before, because it was right at the end of the season. So that was my first game. My favourite all-time player. This is hard because I was trying to think of this today because, funny enough, I picked my all-time 11, but my all-time favourite player is not in that 11. Which might sound strange, but Terry Erdock to me epitomises everything about Millwall.
Yeah.
That kind of dog spirit. And what people don't realise about Terry Erdock is he can actually play football. He wasn't actually a bad player. He can, he knocked people into into the stands, but he could actually play football. You know what I mean? And people don't.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, he was picked for England B, wasn't he? Famously.
Exactly, of course.
You don't make it that far
with bouncing and stuff. You know what I mean? So
you don't get that far without an ability with the ball, as well as doing the hard man stuff, if you like. You got the physical stuff. Let's call it that. No, he was a great passer of the ball to. I think he was underrated in that sense because I don't know if you'd agree, Gary, but Millwall's always been an unfashionable name in football, isn't it? If you're playing for Millwall, you've always got. I'd say Teddy Sheringham. He wasn't until he went on to the bigger clubs that he became the player of the stature that he did, and I think Terry probably suffered a little bit as a consequence of playing for us. But
I think because of his reputation as a player, and it kind of went with the reputation of Millwall, didn't it?
I think certainly fans they saw him and themselves as one. He's one of those. We've had a few players like that over the years, and I think Millwall fans particularly want to. I don't know about what you'd say about the current side, but I think unless you identify, maybe with the likes of Danny Mack and Billy, but they're different players in many ways, aren't they? But Millwall fans want to identify with their team. They will see themselves playing out there almost. It's like that sense of solidarity or whatever way you want to.
And I think that's why basically to answer your question, mate, he is my all-time favourite player. But like I say, I didn't put him in my 11, but he is my all-time favourite simply because it's everything about Terry Erdock. He wasn't just a footballer. He was, again, the man he was. You know what I mean?
He's an iconic figure. He's an iconic figure, isn't he? He sums up that late 80s team, the glory days of the First Division and promotion. And he's a T-shirt figure. Do you know what I mean, Gary? It's some people just are, and he kind of captures a time and a place. I think in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen Dan Millwall for a while, but when he goes down Millwall, like he sits and he sits.
No, he's still there, isn't he?
Yeah, and he sits on the terraces. You know what I mean? So.
And much loved. I mean, people still to this day want to be seen with Terry Hurlock and pictured with him and so on.
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic. Who's your musical influences? Your own personal choices, Gary. What kind of sound do you like? What are you doing? What you would like to? You enjoy listening to, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, basically to sum it up, Oasis changed my life. I mean, Oasis were the. Okay. I probably wasn't even. Again, I wasn't even into music really when I was when they come out, and then Oasis come out, and that was it. And it was anything to do with like Oasis. So any bands that even looked like Oasis, I was I was going out and buying the CD stuff. So I started listening to all that kind of 90s Britpop stuff. So you had the Ocean Colour scene, the Charlatans, and then that sort of stuff made me listen to 10 years before, like the Jam. Yeah, and then even before, then the Who and the Beatles. You know what I mean? So it's all that kind of Britpop, sort of bit of mod stuff.
I was listening to the sound. I was listening to a couple of the tracks today, and I thought I could hear. It's influence. I think everyone's always influenced by something else, no matter what you do, what walk of arts or music or whatever you want to call it. You're always influenced by somebody else. So I was keen to ask that question because I thought I could hear those influences. So it's interesting to hear that you say that.
So I wouldn't be talking to you now if it wasn't for Oasis. You know what I mean? So they literally did change my life in that sense. So. To me, the best band ever. And even though I didn't start singing until late, it really was because of this Oasis coming out really got me into music in the first place. So
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I mean, we've heard your favourite all-time player, Gary, and this is always the one. It's actually quite a hard question, but there's no point in the show unless we ask some hard questions. That's the purpose of it. So every coin's always got to have its other side. Who's your worst Millwall player you've ever seen? There's always a joke of there's a lot of choice there.
All right, I've got to say, Steve Antrobus for me.
Yes,
I just my memory of Steve Antrobus is just some lanky player who just he's like chasing shadows.
Dear.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it was like people say Paul Goddard, but I don't remember much about Paul Goddard. To be fair, I think it was. I mean, the thing about Paul Goddard is where he came from and the price tag. So it was always a massive, a lot of pressure.
I suppose Goddard was a proven. He didn't do it for us, but he was a proven striker at the first division level. I don't know. I think I have no idea. He even played for England once or twice. But so he you wouldn't have known it in a Millwall shirt. But he brought in a reputation of sorts with Newcastle and West Ham. Antrobus, no, which makes me laugh when I think this. When I first saw Steve Antrobus, Gary, I actually thought he didn't look like a bad prospect. He seemed quite quick. He seemed like he could. I thought we might have found a player like powerful, athletic, but of course he just never took the ball with him.
Yeah. I mean, he just seemed to be like 2 miles behind. He just seemed to be a step behind everyone else, and he should have jumped for about 2 seconds before he did, and that it was, and just like you say, the height of him and the amount of the headers that he didn't win. I don't know, just I think I do remember him scoring one goal, and that was at Sellers Park against Charlton, and that is just the only time I remember him scoring. And that was only late.
It was a rare event, wasn't it? It was a very very rare event. That's a good choice, actually. I haven't heard the name Steve Antrobus mentioned on any of these shows, so that's a good. You plucked one from out the blue there. I like that choice. Who does the songwriting for your band, Gary? I mean, do you write, or are you musically gifted in that way, or
probably? I find it hard because because I don't play an instrument. I find that if you have a melody first, and it's easy to put lyrics to a melody.
Yeah.
So I've struggled. There's a song on the album called Groundhog Day, which I did actually write.
Okay.
But that is the only song I've ever really written. Paul, my mate, the one I was talking to you earlier, he's the main songwriter. I've written one song in all these years, and he wakes up in the morning and he's written 2 in 2 hours. It's just, I don't know how he does it. He sneezes and the song comes out. It's
like that.
what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah, the fact that we've got in the space in under a year, the album come out right at the end of April, so not even a year. We got an album and an EP coming out, 16, 17 songs. You know what I mean? So
it's prolific.
That just goes to show. Yeah.
No, I was curious because obviously I haven't listened to all of them, listeners, but I've listened to 1 or 2. But what really struck me is that the songs can be what I call obvious melodies, if you like, Gary. Sometimes they, and you do this quite well, I think, is that you just take it in an interesting, different direction, ever so slightly. It's just kind of like a tangent almost, and that's where talent lies, in my opinion. The ability to do that rather than take the obvious route. It might not be making much sense to listeners, but that's what really reached across from the sounds I listened to.
I mean, if you listen to the album, I like to think that the album takes you on a bit of a ride itself, because there's probably not one song that sounds the same in
very much.
A couple of songs. There's you've got 11 songs and you've probably got 4 or 5 really different types of that kind of music.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix, and the new single in a way is we've seen it all. It's a slightly different feel to some of the tracks I was listening to on Chaos Interrupted. So I think it's you obviously want to keep the variety going, and I think you're doing that well, mate.
We keep true to ourselves with our influences and stuff, but obviously you got to I wouldn't say modernise it, but you got to.
You got to keep moving.
You got to keep moving. Yeah, basically, that's it. And I think with us, we don't like funnel it down a path. We kind of go, right, we got a song, and then at the end of it, it might turn out to be totally the way that it first came out.
Yeah.
So we just let everyone. There's 6 of us in the band, and someone might come up with an idea, and we go, right, we try it. It's not like no, you got to do that, you got to do that. We literally do try different things. People. It's a freedom band that anyone could bring ideas to a certain song, and I think that's what's made it work. That's why a lot of songs do sound different, or the next single totally different to
the previous one.
Well, if you listen to when you get to listen to the EP, there's 4 or 5. I think it's 5 songs. And there's 5 songs that don't really sound you can't get mixed up with them, you know what I mean? So, we've got a lot of freedom in the band, and I think it kind of works for us,
Too soon, lead me straight back to you. One step too soon.
It comes over. I mean, just to let listeners know, you can find Maze on Spotify. The name of the album I found was Chaos Interrupted, and we'll put links out for the new sounds as well. We've seen it all, and the other stuff. So I'll make no apologies, listeners. I will be boosting this band as far as I can do. Because I just really like what you're doing there, Gary. What's your most memorable Millwall match, mate? And also memorable match, and sometimes I wonder whether these 2 questions are one and the same. Really, memorable match and memorable moment. It can be the same, but it can be different.
Yeah, I mean, I could not really choose a memorable match.
Right.
One of them that sticks in my mind simply because, to me, as a top Millwall fan, going all my life, my family are Millwall fans, you had to be there, and that was Ferencvaros's UEFA Cup.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Simply because I don't mean to sound, pessimistic, but we might not ever get there again. You know what I mean?
Well, I never thought we'd see such a thing, Gary. I mean,
exactly. So, I mean, then again, it's on that match. So I was trying to think. Obviously, West Ham 4-1.
The Mother's Day massacre, isn't it?
Yeah, the Mother's. But I had some really good times. I remember one time I took 2 days off work because I had so much time to me years ago, and I went down to Cheltenham on my own. and we beat them 1-0. Gary Alexander scored the last 5 minutes, and there's only like 100 of us there. It's then sometimes you remember them nights.
You do,
you know,
and it's quite hard to explain that to non-Millwall fans, isn't it?
Absolutely. There was a geezer in the pub. He won £300 on a fruit machine, and then the same geezer on the way home won £1,400 on the bet. So that was one of my memories from that night. I can't remember I don't know who this fella was. I'm talking about when Kenny Jackett first took over. So 12, 13 years ago. And we I think when he first took over, we was down the bottom of League One. We was like
we were struggling, weren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I say it might even be actually. No, I think it might have been Kenny Jackett. Sorry, it was Kenny Jackett, and we scored a lot, and Alexander scored the last 5 minutes or something. Sometimes they're the ones that I was trying. That came into my head today as well.
No, it's a great point. It's a great point. So you talk to people who follow, I don't know, the usuals, Arsenal's, Liverpool's, and whoever you like, and they'll talk to you about European Cup matches and memorable goals scored on the big stage. But just it's an interesting point you've made about Cheltenham. I can remember going to a midweek game up at Sheffield Wednesday and Maguire Guay equalising in the last minute, literally the last minute of added time. Yeah. And we got a 1-1 draw, Gary. And for some reason that made even now it leaves a kind of an impact on you. It's amazing these moments, what they can do to you.
Absolutely. I mean, so when it came to matches, I found that very odd. I mean, I live in Penge. So I'm surrounded by Palace, you know what I mean? So, when we played them, when we beat them 3-1, and it was the first time we played them for a long time, and Claridge scored, and
absolutely,
so because I live, obviously living around Penge, being surrounded by the Nigels, that was I didn't let that down for like 3 days, you know what I mean? So, So there is, I mean, again, the Ferenc Varos thing, that wasn't really the best match, but I think that's one of the moments, obviously, because I went out, I got a ticket, and I was out there. And
you went out for the Hungarian game, blimey.
That's probably why. That's probably why it's one of my best. That's why it has to be up there, simply because, again, you had to go out. I managed to get a ticket, but you had to go out there, didn't you? And it was one of them where
I didn't have the dough. I was in a bit of a situation at the time, so I couldn't make it out there. I watched it on the TV, but I think I missed out there badly. I think looking back at it, No,
that's what I'm saying. And I mean, I remember the day of the game when everyone met in the square and everyone was drinking. There was Millwall fans coming up to me saying, "I know your dad," and there was Millwall fans that never. This is 2004. Who'd never been to the new den because they refused to go. So you talk about really old Millwall fans who come out.
old school,
really old school. You know what I mean? So I mean, saying that the Old Trafford game against Southern, that's got to be one of the best games. I really can't. One of my first memories is. Funny enough, we actually lost, but it was the day we got promoted to the top division. I think we lost against Blackburn, didn't we? 4-1.
4-1. Yeah, we were promoted already, though, weren't we? At the time, it was
and the good thing was, if I remember rightly, by losing 4-1, didn't that stop Palace getting in the playoffs or something like
pushed that? Palace out of the playoffs.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. So it actually worked out quite well.
These are the moments, mate, aren't they? These are the moments. It's fascinating. Good choices.
When it comes to moment, though, saying that, I think what I have to say, one of the moments has to be Harris's goal against Watford on New Year's Day.
Yeah, that was a big. That was a 4-1 win, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. You actually saw grown men cry, I think, when that goal went in. You know what I mean? So, it was. He got to come off the bench, and I think what makes it even special is that he picked the ball up near enough in his own half, and he just kept on running and running.
No, absolutely. Another. We already used the word once, iconic, and that was an iconic moment as well. The famous photo where he's being lifted up by the team and so on.
I mean, I was there that day. We had about 4,000 that day as well. So,
we took a lot there, didn't we? I've got a question for you, Gary. Mentioned live performance already. How do you find it? I mean, obviously, lead singer of the band, you're going to be. You're kind of like the front face there, really, aren't you? You're the main man of the group in the sense that the public will focus on you. Obviously, that's not to demean the rest of the guitar band. Four guitarists I see on the band photo, which I approve of. But I mean, live performance is a thing that you've either got or you haven't. I mean, how do you find it? Is it something you enjoy, or is it?
Obviously, you obviously love it because you want to do it otherwise, but. I do get nervous. I've always, and even now, even now.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I was very. It's strange. I've gone from, I was very late to come on social media because I really hated seeing pictures of myself and videos of myself.
Right.
And then I've gone from one extreme to the other, 15 years later. So,
You're going to be like Ziggy Stardust soon, mate. You're going to be out of control. No, it's interesting. I often find I can't imagine them being nervous like that. I mean, I would be terrible. I get nervous even doing this tonight. We haven't met, we haven't spoken before. I've had a few messages on back and forth, but until you actually get to talk to somebody, it's a nervous thing, and to do that in front of a crowd of people, mate, that's not easy, is it?
No, it's we always had this thing of get the first song out of the way, and then you sort of get into it a bit more. But funny enough, if you get a really big crowd, like Hope and Anchor sold out, I'll probably be less nervous there than if you play in front of 5 people. Sometimes it's weird how that works as well.
I think one or two Millwall players must have got nervous playing in front of a few people at times over their career. Who's your favourite current player, Gary? Who'd you like in the current squad?
I've got to say Danny McNamara.
Danny Mac, one of our own.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, do you know what I mean? It's not even the fact that he's one of our own. I just think, I mean, I think he had a bit of a shaky start of the season, but the last say 2 months or whatever, I don't know. I just think he looks brilliant. He's got pace. He's actually quite confident on the ball.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to get a foot in.
No, he's not. No, he's got that Millwall streak in him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Like you said with Terry Hurlock, I mean, the same kind of thing. I mean, skillful, but got the physicality, but he's also skillful. I think I'd say the similar things about Danny Mac, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you see, people don't. You might not realise, but he's actually assisted in a couple of the goals. You know what I mean? He gets. He
gets forward well.
He can get down. He can get forward. So, I think the current player probably. I think he's probably my favourite. Where I sit in the West Lower, he's right in front of us quite a lot, especially in the second half, if we're shooting down the Cobbler end. So he's we see him quite close up, and he's just confident. He's good on the ball. He's
good choice. I like that. Yeah, good choice, mate. I think a lot of people would say similar things. Now, next question is a difficult one for a peace-loving musician, man of the arts, peace and love and all that. But and I always think most hated opponent is a bit of a strong one. I've got to reword it. Who do you dislike, or who's your least favourite player?
I like to say it's a Millwall fan. I hate everyone, but I don't know. It's strange because obviously, like the West Ham thing, you sort of you're born and bred into it, but. Yeah. But being brought up in Penge, again, I'm surrounded. Me and my mates. Yeah, me and my mates were like Penge, Beckenham, Sydenham, that sort of area. And we're all Millwall mates. And there's about 25% of WhatsApp, but we've all known each other 25 years. And I reckon over half of them would probably say they hate Palace more than anyone.
I think it does depend who you're brought up with, in amongst, or where you live.
Yeah, I didn't know. Growing up, I didn't know any West Ham fans. So we didn't play for from like 1992 or early 90s till
no, we didn't. No,
until early 2000. So we played. A player, the most hated player. I don't want to get political, but. that James McLean the other week when he got the
James McLean always gets it, doesn't he? Yeah. Let's go with James McLean then. That's a good choice.
I know. I don't know if I should be saying that on the show, but
that's all right. You say whatever you want on this show. I don't mind really. That's fine by me, mate. No problem on that front. So our last question is always a hard one, and I know that you've spent a lot of time chewing at the end of your pencil to come up with your best ever Millwall 11. So let's get into your best Millwall 11, Gary. Who would you choose,
right.
mate?
So I've even written this down here. So I've got goalkeeper. I've got Casey Keller.
Casey Keller, good choice. He was a strong goalkeeper, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he got better and better when he came over, and I think he could. I think you could just rest assured you felt comfortable with him in goal, didn't you? You know what I mean?
He was a powerful big man in goal, and I think he's one of these, a bit like Tony Warner in a way, Gary. I think he dominates your area, and he's a personality, and takes no nonsense. I think that's a good choice, Casey Keller. One case to Stella in goal. Are you going to go across the back?
So right, my back four. So I went for Kenny Cunningham.
Kenny Cunningham, good choice. Yeah, good choice. Quite a cultured player.
I mean, brilliant player. I think he was again like Danny. Like he was good on the ball. You know, he's and he was quite tall as well, so he could win. You know, he was quite.
He's an intelligent defender, and
I think that Kenny Cunningham for us was probably one of the first sort of attacking fullbacks where he could actually get forward as well.
Yeah,
before that we had sort of the old-fashioned fullback like Ian Dawes, and I actually put Ian Dawes down first because I loved Ian Dawes, but I thought where Kenny Cunningham could actually he became a bit more, like the modern fullback where he can actually go forward a bit. I think Kenny Cunningham was like
good
that.
choice. It was a heartbreaking moment when we sold him. I think we sold him to Wimbledon because we were broke when we going into financial meltdown at the time. So
they bought about 3 of our players, didn't they?
Yeah, well, there's a fire sale. It was all going cheap, wasn't it, at the time? But good choice, Kenny Cunningham. Who else you got there?
So the centre back, one of the centre backs has gone for Nethercott.
Good choice. Yeah.
I think that he was you think that was that team that played Birmingham just should have gone up, and it was one of our best teams. But it was what people forget is it's a really young team, and I think Nethercott led by example. You know, I mean,
some experience in, didn't he?
Yeah. That midfield was so young. So they all come from the the other centre back, I've gone for Jake Cooper, simply because he's been here. I think if he's at the team now, you know when he's not, you notice it.
Yeah.
And I think again another one that's now been there 5 or 6 years, which this day and age is good. It's a long service now. You know what I mean? So
he's been around the club. He's very much a Millwall player now as well, isn't he? Obviously, after so many years at the club, he become part of it.
For a centre back, how many goals has he got? He's got a few goals.
He's an attacking threat every time he goes over there. You see by the players that trying to rugby tackle him, Gary, don't you? I mean, it goes unpunished, but he's known as a threat. So
I've gone for a 4-4-2. So the other fullback, I've gone for Ben Thatcher.
He's a good choice. I used to like Ben Thatcher.
I mean, I suppose he didn't take no prisoners, but he was actually a very. I mean, there was rumours that Man United were watching at one point, weren't there? There was. There was talk of Man United coming in for like £3 or £4 million at the time. And,
he was a good player.
He's a brilliant player. I actually thought that he could have done more. He's one of them players that,
he let it go, slip through his fingers slightly, didn't he? For many reasons, which we won't go into. But I think you're right. We've made a bit of a specialism at the Den of players that are physically strong and get known for being that, but they can also play, which they don't get the credit for. I mean, we've spoken about Herlock already, but I'd say exactly. Ben was in that category too, Gary.
Yeah, he had a bit of pace, for
He's a good player, good defender. Yeah. Cunningham, Nethercott, Cooper, and Thatcher. That's a decent back line.
So the midfield, I've gone for Jimmy Carter.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
One thing I remember about Jimmy Carter is the roar every time he got the ball, the roar of the crowd. Again, I was only like 8 or 9 years old, and that is my memory of him is the moment he got the ball and started running down the wing. The noise of the crowd.
You kind of something was going to happen. When Jimmy got the ball, you lean forwards. It's one of those. Some players you just are excited to see what they're going to do, and he had that ability, didn't he, to produce. It was always an exciting moment when he was going down a wing at Coldblow Lane. Great choice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've gone for in the middle, the 2 centre midfielders. I've gone for Tim Cahill.
Cahill's a good player. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, he's sort of like my generation, so I kind of watched him come up as when he first, all the way to when he went to Everton. You know what I mean? And what a good player he was. He could actually defend as well. He could actually get back. He was a box to box player.
And he used to have that ability to hang in the air as well, like a basketball player.
I mean, the amount of headers he scored, you know what I mean? So, you know, when he went to Everton, Everton played him more as a striker sometimes, but with us, he was in the middle, and he could
run from deep. I think the Australian national team played him as a striker on occasion, especially late in his career. But no, great player, great choice.
So that was in the midfield. I've gone for Alex Ray.
That's another great choice. I used to love Alex Ray. Another player that could change a game. You know?
And I mean, I actually met Alex a few times when I was to play football, and I had to go to the football coaching thing.
Right.
He was, you could tell he was like, I don't know, like the Paul Gascoigne in a pack. I think he's a bit of a joker. You know what I mean? He always, you could always he was always doing jokes and making people laugh. And, you know what I mean? So, but he was such a good player.
Oh, he was a game changer, Alex Ray.
And I think didn't for 2 years in a row, I think he was our top goal scorer from midfield. You know what I mean? So in
the early 90s, he was absolute mainstay of the team. Again, another player that you think should have done better. You know, like we just said with Thatcher. But great choice. That's a great midfield. Tim Cahill, Jimmy Carter, Alex Ray. Who else you got in midfield?
Malcolm Allen.
I like Malcolm Allen.
Yeah.
Great striker. Yeah. Another committed player as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I mean, there's the fact that at that time he went to Newcastle for like £2 million, which then was a lot of money. Just goes to show how good player he was.
He played for Norwich, I think, as well in his time.
Yeah.
Welsh born, obviously, but he played for Norwich, and I used to love it. He was a great striker, and he was another committed. I think a lot of these players. I'm just looking at your 8-9 players so far. They're all committed players that were passionate about being at Millwall. I think he was one of them.
Absolutely, yeah. So the two strikers
up front.
To be fair, I mean, as a kid, he was my hero. Was Teddy Sheringham.
Teddy Sheringham. I think I'm going
to. To be fair, it was tough. It was either him or Cascarino, because that was my first sort of part. When I was 7-8 years old, and I started going Millwall all the time then with my dad.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cascarino and Sheringham was the strike partnership.
It's quite hard to get them out of your head, really, isn't it? So Teddy and Cass, but Teddy was a great striker, and he showed his promise at Millwall. And obviously, was go on elsewhere to really hit the heights. But I thought you could always tell he was an intelligent player, Gary. He was always.
I mean, you've hit it now and then, mate. Intelligent, and that's why I think he's nicked it for Cascarino, because Cascarino was just a striker, whereas
he was a conventional centre forward. Yeah.
Sheringham could actually come deep and.
Pull wide. Do the unusual. Teddy Sheringham's a great choice, mate. Are you going to go alongside him? Who you got up front with him?
It's got to be Neil Harris. It
can't be anyone. The two club record goal scorers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean. So,
that's a good choice.
Yeah, it was. I actually had a squad of about 25, mate. It was so hard today, because once I'd done this 11, I then had people like Mark Kennedy, you know what I mean, or Jason Van Blurk, and I think, or even like, Tony Witter,
Steve Morrison. To be honest, I mean, you got. I think it's one of the hard things. In some ways, I think when we do these interviews, I always find it's a similar thing with people. It's actually quite one of the hardest questions, because you have to eliminate so many great choices. You've got to put to one side and go. There's Island discs,
that is true. Yeah, I even felt guilty that I didn't put Brian Hall in goal, because Brian Hall was my first goal I remember. And I don't know if you ever remember I don't know why I remember this, but it was Barnsley in the Simo Cup when he saved all 3 penalties. You know what I mean?
I remember. Now you say that, I think you're right. It was a great goalkeeper. It was more smaller stature than, say, Casey Keller, wasn't he? I think that was the thing with him. Not so much now.
I know.
Not so much these days. Let's run through that team again. This is Gary's all-time Millwall 11. I think it's a great choices here, mate. Casey Keller in goal, back line, Kenny Cunningham, Stuart Nethercott, Jake Cooper and Ben Thatcher. Across the middle, Jimmy Carter, Tim Cahill, Alex Ray and Malcolm Allen. Up front, Teddy Sheringham and Neil Harris. That's got goals, and it's got physicality. It's got goals right down the middle of it. There, Gary. I love that. I love that 11.
I think the only thing I've missed out is, I've missed out that kind of Millwall hard man like Terry a lot, but I think as a all-round footballer, again, he's strange. It's strange that he's my all-time favourite player, but I didn't put him in my 11. But you know,
I think for Millwall hardmen, I mean, Alex Ray was no slouch, was he? Cahill could hold his own, and Ben Thatcher's out there just in case I need a backup, you know.
Of course, Ben Thatcher. I mean, Ben Thatcher was not scared to get into a tackle.
No, he wasn't.
So.
And I wouldn't have wanted to get a right-hander off of Casey Keller, particularly. So I think you've got a fair amount of it in that scene. I mean, that's a great choice, mate. That's fantastic. So next gig is the 17th. That's a sold-out gig, Gary, at Hope and Anchor. The next gig is Worthing this Saturday. Worthing, sorry.
Yeah, it's called the venue's called the Factory. Then we're at the Cambridge Junction next Friday night. Okay. And then it's the Open Anchor on the 17th. Yeah, as you say, sold out. Which I can't stop saying them two words, sold out, because we've never, you know, it just goes to show how far we've come in the last year. You know what I mean? So,
no, it was justifiable. The sound is strong, in my opinion. I can believe you're going to get sold out at these kind of shows, because once people get to hear the sound, I think, you know, it deserves a follow. If you're in the Worthing or the Cambridge area, check out Maze. I think they're well worth a listen. Have a listen on Spotify. New EP is coming out, which is called Letters from London. That's on the 17th. You'll get that on Spotify as well. Gary, I've really enjoyed the conversation, mate. You're a listed lion and a rock star. That's not bad, is it?
It's been brilliant. I've never been called a rock star either, so
well, generally, you know, when people give their occupation, I don't know, it's like printer or taxi or something, you know, but this is a rock star. I've always wanted that on this show. I've really enjoyed the conversation, Gary. Thank you for coming.
Thank you
on,
for
mate. I've enjoyed yourself.
Mate.
No, absolutely.
Do you know what? I don't get to talk about the old days of Mill as well, so it's been fantastic.
Brilliant.
You know,
Brilliant. Keep in touch, mate. And
definitely.
Certainly give it all the support we can on social media, and I hope this show helps as well on that front. We're going to play the show out with the new single by Maze. We've seen it all. Hope you enjoyed it, and check them out. Until the next edition of Achtung Millwall, thank you for listening. Thank you to Gary Days for coming on the show. And until the next edition, Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
To the best days of my life, driving round the open road, it's like the devil by my side, talking dreams